Hello everyone, this is Ross with 714 Ministries International, and I just want to share with you some highlights from the book of Ruth, chapter 3, verses 1 through 11. And as I share these highlights, I'm just going to go through them quickly. They can be fleshed out even more, and I encourage you to do that on your own time. There's a lot of truth found in the book of Ruth. It's only 4 chapters. I found over 150 different truths and nuggets of wisdom all throughout the book. So I'm going to read Ruth chapter 3, verses 1 through 11. Then I'm going to share with you just a few of the nuggets that I shared last night with my Bible study group. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, and her is Ruth, "My daughter, shall I not seek security for you, that it may be well with you? Now Boaz, whose young women you were with, is he not our relative? In fact, he's winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. Therefore wash yourself and anoint yourself, put on your best garment, and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. Then it shall be, when he lies down, that you shall notice the place where he lies, and you'll go in and uncover his feet and lie down, and he will tell you what you should do." And she said to her, "All that you say to me I will do." That's what Ruth replied to these words of wisdom from her mother-in-law. Verse 6, "So she went down to the threshing floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law instructed her. And after that Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was cheerful, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. And she came softly, and covering his feet, she lay down. Now it happened at midnight that the man was startled, and he turned himself, and there a woman was lying at his feet. And he said, 'Who are you?' So she answered, 'I am Ruth, your maidservant. Take your maidservant under your wing, for you are a close relative.' And he said, 'Blessed are you of the Lord, my daughter, for you have shown more kindness at the end than at the beginning, and that you did not go after young men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you request, for all the people of my town know that you are a virtuous woman.'" Now, throughout the book of Ruth, this concept of chesed is this loving kindness, this loyal loving kindness is demonstrated throughout the book. We find it literally used in verse 10 when Boaz speaks to Ruth and said, "Blessed are you of the Lord, my daughter, for you have shown chesed," more kindness, a loving, loyal kindness. He said, "You've shown that more at the big end than at the beginning." Now, we find in this passage that Ruth is, of course, migrated with Naomi to Israel. She's become a practicer of Judaism. She is a believer in the one true God. She is a woman of faith and integrity. And she's about 40 years old at this point. And she comes with Naomi back to Israel, leaving Moab, and they're not exactly friendly people to each other. They've had their conflicts throughout their existence. But she's come back and she's worked hard. She's taken care of her mother-in-law. She's asserted herself. She's been virtuous. She has a high moral ethic. People are seeing this and seeing how she's taking care of her mother-in-law and all that's going on. And of course, a small town, even big towns. Austin's a big town, but people talk. And so the talk has gotten around, and she's got an incredible testimony and reputation among the people of Israel. And Boaz, above all, has also noticed this in a very real way. She has been gleaning in his fields by happenstance, but actually God was leading her. And when she gets back, she starts gleaning in his fields. And so her mother-in-law in chapter 3 is giving her advice. Listen, keep doing what you're doing. This man is favoring you. There's something special going on here. Let's pursue this. She actually says in verse 1, "My daughter, shall I not seek security for you?" That word security in the Hebrew is manoach, and it means rest. "Shall I not find a place for you to call your home? Shall I not find a place where you can be comforted, protected, and provided for?" And so that's the passion of the mother-in-law for her daughter-in-law, both of them being widows, but Naomi going, "I'm not marrying again," but you should. Life should not have ended with your husband, my son, in Moab. Your life, you still have so much life to live. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Let me give you quickly, over the next few minutes, 7 nuggets of wisdom, 7 life principles, 7 truths that can help you this week as you embrace life. Just ways to look at life through this passage and this story, things that I uncovered as I was studying. Number 1, be the kind of person that helps other people achieve their dreams. Be the kind of person that helps other people achieve their dreams. Naomi looks at her and said, "Can I help you be all that you should be? Can't I help you pursue life and have this pursuit of fulfillment and protection and security? And I love that about Naomi, very selfless. Ruth, through this whole experience, has been very selfless, very giving, very generous. And Naomi is now pouring that back into the life of Ruth. So be the kind of person that helps other people achieve their dreams. Number 2, we found this in verse 3, always put your best foot forward. Therefore, wash yourself, anoint yourself, and put on your best garment. So years ago, January 15th, 2000, we had a house fire that took everything we had. We were living in Tennessee in a church camp house. It was a nice house. And we had moved in on a Wednesday, unpacked everything, at least the boxes out of the U-Haul, returned it. A lot of things were still in boxes. And then we went to Kentucky to see family. By the time we were coming back, we found out that the house had burned to the ground. That morning, ironically, that Saturday morning, I had determined I had a $200 pair of deerskin shoes that someone had bought me in Greenville, North Carolina. Beautiful shoes. Maybe it's Greenville, South Carolina, maybe one of the Carolinas, but beautiful shoes, comfortable, felt like you were in slippers. I had that and like a $50 pair of Walmart shoes. And based upon how I dressed that day, I determined I'll just wear the Walmart shoes because I don't want to mess up the deerskin shoes. And they burned with the house. They're gone. 200 pair of shoes, most expensive shoes I've ever had. They're gone forever. And ever since that day, I decided, you know what? I'm always going to put my best foot forward. No pun intended, because it's shoes. But I'm always going to look my best, do my best, and be my best. That's what Naomi is giving her advice to do. Always put your best foot forward. But another thing I found within this is she tells her to do 3 things. Wash yourself, anoint yourself, and put on your best garment. 3 parts preparation, 1 part action. I like that. We need to have something where we prepare more than we do. Because when we do, we'll do better. Because we've prepared well. So prepare well so you will do better. 3rd thing, don't conduct important business on an empty stomach. So she tells her, do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. And this is a principle we apply in American culture, as we know. A lot of business is conducted over a meal. Why? Because you don't want people to be hangry and you don't want people to be hungry. You don't want them to be distracted by their physical needs, by whatever presentation is going on in the business meeting. And so you have food so people are content and then they listen better. They're more settled. So never conduct important business on an empty stomach. Number 4, plan your work and work your plan, as we've seen in verse 3. And then we go to verse 4. And then it shall be when he lies down that you shall notice the place he lies, and you shall go in and cover his feet, lie down, and he'll tell you what you should do. This is the plan. They've mapped it out. They've charted the course. And now they're implementing the plan. So plan your work and work your plan. Number 5, listen to advice even if you didn't ask for it. In verse 5, all through verses 1 through 4, Naomi is giving Ruth advice that she really didn't ask for, but she's welcome to receive it, which is a beautiful thing, which goes along with the next point I'm going to give you. But listen to advice even if you didn't ask it. Verse 5, she looks at Naomi and says, all that you said to me, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it. Dr. Jordan Peterson, a well-known psychologist out of Canada, said this, and he has written a book called 12 Rules for Life. This is one of the 12 rules he's written. And I love what he says here. He says, assume that the person you're listening to might know something you don't. Assume that the person you're listening to might know something you don't. I think that's valuable. So listen to advice even if you don't ask for it. Number 6, never get higher than humble. We find in verse 9. Here's Ruth. And she says, and she goes and lays down at his feet, has uncovered his feet. At this point, he wakes up and he looks at her. He says, who are you? And she says, I am Ruth, your maidservant. Take your maidservant under your wing, for you are a close relative. Never get higher than humble. I remember this saying from years ago. The only place you'll find honor before humility is in the dictionary. Never get higher than humble. Number 7, nothing ventured, nothing gained. We also find that in verse 9 when she goes and puts into action the plan that they've determined. Listen, at some point, you gotta cast off from the shore and go out into the deep. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. What did she have to lose? Absolutely nothing. This man was favorable to her, kind to her. He was generous to her. She was taking the next step and saying, I'm available for marriage. She had at this point, now notice she changes her garments at the beginning of this chapter. She says, put on a new garment. Why? Because she had been wearing her widow clothes up to then. She had been demonstrating the fact that she was a virtuous woman and that she had been mourning the loss of her husband. Now she's putting on new garments. She's saying, now the mourning is ceased, and now I'm available if you're interested. But not just to anybody. I caution anybody, men or women, but especially young women, don't just put yourself out there for anybody. Wait for the right person. Whether you're a man or a woman, this is good advice. Wait for the right person. Wait for the person God has for you. And don't just enter relationships carelessly. Have friendships, but then when it's time and you find someone that you find that's not just a friend, but someone that you can love, then let them know, hey, I think you're special. Okay? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. And then number 8, found in verse 11. Boaz says to her, now my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you request. For all of my people of my town know that you are a virtuous woman. Always know that your reputation precedes you. Your testimony and your reputation are two parts. It's like a yin and yang. They work together. Your testimony is what people say about you. Your reputation is what people know about you. Let me give you a for instance. People say, yeah, he's a hard worker, but he always leaves work early. So your reputation is you leave early. Your testimony is you work hard. I'm not saying it always has to be a positive, negative. They can both be positives by God's grace and you living right. You can have a positive testimony and a good reputation. But take this advice today, these 8 things, and apply them to your life and share them with someone else by sharing this video. If you've not subscribed to my channel, please do. I'd like to get to 1,000 subscribers at some point. I'm at 251. So there we are. Thank you for your time. May God bless and keep you. Shalom.